So, I am coming to you live from the dance studio because I figure it's a better space for me to film. Um, and I just want to actually ask everybody a couple things. I wanted to see basically, we're all women working in men's jobs, right? Like, that's who my client is. Um, that's who I like to help uh, because I am a woman in a man's job, and I've been doing a man's job for about over 14 years now. So I'm very different from when I was in the beginning, and I assume that kind of everybody goes through this phase of how they feel when they first get in versus things you experience, and then getting to a point where you're good and your baseline. So I really want to speak to those people that are at the beginning and or middle, or that are kind of stuck in um, maybe the the main feelings of like when you don't feel like you belong, right? So like the number one thing I hear from people is that um, like I'm different, so I can't really fit in, or there's like male camaraderie. So there is that thing that like we're not going to be one of the guys, and people should know that. Like you're not going to be one of the guys when you go on the job. You can try to be one of the guys, but you're not. You can fit in, you can joke with the guys, you can have fun, but you're never truly going to be one of the guys because that's not a thing that's possible. Um, because there's always going to be people that come on and off the jobs that look at you differently. So you can't control how people feel about you. All you can control is how you present yourself. So that's the number one thing to kind of discuss with people. You go onto jobs, and like with my job, the job sites change, the people change, like everything varies. So you might be in an office setting, you might be a doctor, you might be an attorney, like maybe you're in an office setting and the people you're around doesn't change, but there's always new people and people coming and going, and there's always going to be that person that walks into the room that's never met you, or when you're new, it like maybe you start with a new company and you walk in and they assume that you're the help or that like maybe you're not good at your job. Like maybe you're like, if you're a doctor, maybe they assume you're a nurse. Or if you're an attorney, maybe they assume you're like a legal assistant. If like in my job, when you're a journeyman, maybe they assume that you're an apprentice because you walk on the job and, you know, you couldn't possibly know how to do your job. So that's one thing I wanted to address. But I actually pulled up a list of the top questions I get and the top things that people bring that basically they're sick of feeling these things when they go to work. So the first one is feeling out of place where you're expected to belong. So it's your job, it's your career. You have choices. You don't have to do this job, but maybe you just really enjoy it. Like maybe you enjoy the parts of it, like the components, like um, computer tech. Like a lot of people don't like. It's not a job that a lot of women are in, but again, you walk in and like people maybe assume that you don't. Um, like maybe you don't belong, or you're not like tech savvy because you are a woman. So I wanted to address that. And then like for us, like everybody assuming you suck when you show up. Not that you do suck, but like everybody kind of assumes that, like when you walk on a new job site and they're like, oh, like they get this face, and they're like, especially if you have like a gender neutral name and you show up and then they're like, oh, like it's a girl. Also, like everybody's hot little eyeballs on you. That's one thing that you feel, not necessarily from people in your career path, but like from other people around. Like a lot of people stop and watch you. Um, and I know that's something I experience being like a woman doing that kind of job. So like when I'm up in the air climbing things and doing things with like my belt on, and then like certain other trades will walk by and they stop and watch you. And they're like, like you're just doing your job, just like everybody else. Nobody stops and watches like some of the guys unless they're doing something spectacular, but they do. They stop and watch you. Um, Also, when you're a woman among men all day, dating, like I'm married now, but like dating is kind of a joke. Like it really is. but I guess we'll go into detail about that later. But dating is just like, you don't want to date the people at work, but then you're around the people at work all the time. So there's like this catch 22, but everybody dates online now, but online dating's a joke. So there's a whole lot involved that's just stupid and difficult in this day and age with dating. Um, Also struggling to find lasting female friendships because if you're not around a lot of women, but you're around people that you have stuff in common with, but they might not necessarily be women. And then where do you find women that you have stuff in common with and people that you can be friends with? Because sometimes, again, in my business, we tend to be a little bit abrasive. Like we just like take jabs at each other and joke around and like say anything. Like I basically say like, where's that group of women you could just say shit to? Where are they? Because you can say whatever you want to me and I promise you I will not be offended. And it is hard to find a group of people like that, yet less a group of women, like-minded women that have something in common with you and also are not going to be offended at the terrible stuff, like the stuff that you find is funny, basically. And the other thing is like constantly being like oogled and judged, not just based on your physical appearance, but also about your work ethic. So that kind of falls in line with like people watching you and stuff like that. But like those are the top things I have heard from people that basically annoys you, keeps you up at night. Again, there's sexual harassment and that kind of stuff too. But I mean, that's in every business. A little bit more probably when you're a woman among men. So tell me your stories. Like what would you like help with? Like what annoys the shit out of you? What keeps you up at night? And I'll try to address it in some of the lives, like the Ask Me Monday lives. But that's really the first key in allowing yourself to move forward and feel like you truly belong where you are. Because if you really love what you do and you've chosen that career path, and whether it's among men or not, you don't have to feel like you don't belong. Like that's just not a thing that you have to feel because nobody can make you feel something that you don't feel internally. So you have to like hype yourself up and you have to believe that like you're enough. You have to believe that you're good enough. You have to believe that you're skilled enough that you belong. And that's really like the main takeaway, but we can kind of dive into this deeper. Comment, let me know like what, what you experience and we'll go from there. See you guys later. Let me turn it off. I'm the worst at ending these streams on YouTube because I have to click the button and I always want to touch the screen.